Thank you very much, and thank you guys all for being here today. It's always kind of fun when we see snow. We want it to be here in the winter, but when it comes in the spring here, we kind of just want it to go away. But as Nate had said, we did cross Disney off of our bucket list. I did take my two kids, 9 and 7, to Disney World, where we stayed on property back in December. So they were very excited about that. And now we're on to her new bucket list, which is going to New York. My daughter's a dancer, so she's already at 9, set high on doing that. So sometimes we have our own bucket list, but our family or friends have a bucket list that might intrigue them. So that's kind of how that works with my daughter wanting to do that. Find in your little packet of information, we added a sheet saying what's on your bucket list. When I'm going to go through the presentation today, I kind of want you to think about what is on your bucket list and where you're looking to go, and maybe where other people might have said that they're interested. And it's a good time to kind of reflect on maybe where you've been or where you want to go. So there's a sheet in there for you guys to fill out. There we go. Okay. So, there we go. What's hot, right? That's kind of why you guys are here. Who all are snowbirds that go away? There's a few of you. Okay. So that kind of is a big trend, is snowbirders going off and coming back in April. But exotic and luxury. And what does exotic mean? And it usually means going to Africa, or it could be just taking a luxury yacht cruise around the Greek Isles. Culinary. And what culinary means is going and, let's say you're going to Italy and you're going to sit in a restaurant where they're going to cook right in front of you and help you cook with them and learn that culture. We just talked about bucket list destinations. Barge cruising. Has anybody heard of that at all? It's coming of age. We have our groups department, when he talks about it, he's kind of funny. He gets up and he's like, this isn't me, I would never do this. But some people, that's what they want to do. So it's very, very popular. Culture immersion. And what that means is people want to be in with the culture and learn what's going on in that area. So people will do a trip where you'll go to somebody's house. There's Mama, I think she goes by Mama, and she is in Italy, and she'll sit down and cook you a meal right there in her house. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And then family and couples. So that would be your multi-generational. Has anybody taken a multi-generational trip? Where have you gone, Linda? Disney World. Sometimes that becomes the first thing that you end up doing. And then it starts to carry on as those grandchildren start to get older. You tend to kind of maybe do Alaska next, or just get somewhere and hang out, because sometimes everybody's so busy you don't get that experience. So it's becoming more and more popular. Historical, and we'll talk about that too. And themed cruises. Anybody seen any different kind of themed cruises out there at all? One that's been popular is getting different generations of music and do themed musical cruises. So we'll talk about that today too. The first one has to do with Costa Rica. Who knew Disney did anything outside of a Disney theme park? Some? Have you done it before? No. And Disney, they got so much feedback that they started to came up with Adventures by Disney. So this Costa Rica one is very popular. What they do is take what they do very well and take it off to a different area. So this is taking you on a tour to San Jose, then to the Arena National Park. You get to go through different accommodations. We also add in, what we do is you'll add an escort, or they have local escorts that then will take you around to those different destinations. Anybody is Costa Rica on your list? A little bit? Another popular one is the romancing the rails. So Venice to Rome. Anybody been to Italy? A few of you? Okay. So this one will take you on a Venice, Florence, Sorrento, which is always popular. Typically, people will take a look at their itineraries and go, we need to add in that lovely Sorrento. So what's nice about this is because if you've ever looked at a map of Italy, it's Venice is up here, and then you've got Rome, and then Sorrento. So that's why it is a train, because then it cuts down your travel time. And they'll take you through the different cities. This is part of my bucket list, is to take the gondola through Venice. Mysteries of Peru. This one, we hear this far too often because you want to go to Machu Picchu. Yep. And what I learned most recently, I was sitting down with some clients. Different tours take you to different parts of Machu Picchu, and you can either just go there for the day and be in the lower part of it, because you got to be able to travel back down so you can get back down to your hotel, because your hotels are not near that area. There's different tours, and a lot of people now, instead of just saying that they went to that first part of it, they want to go further into it so that you add on a couple of days so you can really tour around and really experience the top part of it. World War II. So we just we're going to be celebrating the 70th anniversary. Interesting enough, these tours started out over a year ago, and AAA is not the only ones. Obviously, there's a lot of other companies that are gathering up everybody that want to be over there during that time. So what's happening is these are selling out. We put out a tour, it sells out. So we've even got more creative and added on some cruises. Is this on anybody's list at all? A little bit, not so much? Well, what they're doing is taking you on a tour of Paris, Normandy, and the Battle of the Bulge. So that's plus Eagle's Nest, Nuremberg, and Berlin. So they're really taking you right into where everything happened. For example, I know this is on my husband's bucket list. He wants to really go over to the beaches of Normandy and just experience it. Obviously, we're not old enough, but you have grandparents and you have great-grandparents, so that story really lives on with people, and it's a historical, it becomes more of a mission that they want to experience what your family has experienced. So we do, and what's nice here is we brought in a historian, so you can kind of get back and really experience what went on when you were there. So this is that barge trip we were just talking about. Very small, very quaint, but again, for some people, it really appeals to them. So it takes you on a 5-day barge trip, very intimate, but again, something that some people are interested in. Morocco, Casablanca. That starts to kind of go on my list. Love just to experience and walk down those streets. I keep looking at Linda, and you're like, yes, those are exactly what we want to experience. So they again take you within the region. You get to explore the cuisine and learn what goes on in Morocco. South Africa. Who has South Africa on their list? I know I do. Actually, I know a couple of my travel agents do too. When we've got different trips coming up, like, I want to go on that one. It forever is becoming more popular. So what they do is they'll take you down to Cape Town, Winelands, bring you to the Natural Reserve, and really get to go on a safari. Go out there and just, take pictures of the elephants, of the different, mind blocking here. We also have the best of Argentina. So this one, we would go to Buenos Aires. You get to experience a tango show right there. And this is where we're talking about culture and learning about culinary cooking. They will take you right into a ranch and do a cooking lesson and wine tasting. I know a lot of times when you're in different cultures, you kind of start to learn about what their likes are. And I know I was just recently on a cruise and I learned about wine, and I wasn't even, you don't even realize it until you're like, well, which one is this one and that one? And that's what's fun about this, is you really start to understand why one is better than another. For example, having your wine aerated. It was funny, we were having the funniest conversation at dinner we were in one of the specialty restaurants on the Liberty of the Seas. Has anybody been on Royal Caribbean? They have one called Portofino's, and we had about a 20-minute conversation about wine, and we hadn't even ordered dinner yet. So you kind of find yourself as you're traveling, learning, you're not even realizing it. That's what's fun about that. Here is talking more about just doing a safari, the classic Kenya. This one more is narrow focused on doing a safari. So that just gives you a different version of how one could just be more of the Cape Town area, and then this one kind of goes right into more of a straight safari trip. Antarctica. Who has that on their list? On a day like today, you're like, I don't know about that. But for some people it does. And you can kind of see it. This one is a far out trip, March of 2015. So there's interest, and for some people it works for them. So this one again would go into Buenos Aires and then get down to Argentina, because you can see, so you take it to Buenos Aires, then you have to fly down to Ursula, and then you do your 10-day trip, which is on a flight and then the actual trip. Cruising. Who has cruising on their list? It's fun, as long as the weather is good, right? Pacific Isles. So this one really wants to get down to Bora Bora, Papeete, and just cruise right in that niche area. Sometimes there's so many different islands that you end up zeroing in on particular areas. So, and this happens to be a 10-day trip. Japan is becoming ever more popular too. We had our rep for Princess come in last week, and he goes, they're revising the Japan brochure because they're adding more and more. So it's interesting when you see your reps kind of come in and say, that starts to get your mind thinking, going, that must be on everybody else's bucket list. So this particular one is a cruise, but you can add on a 2-night pre in Tokyo, because as with cruising, sometimes with the island that you depart from, you don't necessarily get to experience. So that's why you might see on different cruises that they recommend you go in earlier, just so you can experience it. A fine example would be Hawaii. Has anybody cruised out of Hawaii before? Have you, Judy? You were shaking your head, yeah. So you'd go out of Oahu. Well, if you didn't go in a day or two before, and you've never been to Hawaii, you're not going to experience Pearl Harbor or the international marketplace. So this would allow you to do some sightseeing within Tokyo, and then cruise. You would basically be cruising on the outsides of Japan. And then here we were talking earlier about the World War II, the land version. This is a cruise. So we brought the cruise out to give another option, because a lot of the land departures were filling up so fast. This one takes you on an 11-day journey. Again, pre-night, so you can be in Lisbon. Without it, you really wouldn't see that area. Canada, New England. Has anybody been? And when do you typically do Canada, New England? Anybody know?
Well, we went in the summer.
In the summer?
With our family, but typically you go in the fall.
Yeah, and because people want to see the fall foliage. So sometimes some of these departures, even though maybe you already got it off your bucket list, it still stays on that bucket list, because a lot of people, they want to go out, experience the fall foliage. So a lot of times your peak ones, which are going to be in October, this one is in August, just because we were able to get, sometimes they're not during peak because it gives you a better pricing point. But a lot of times you'll see the higher pricing right in that early October time, and that's more because of the fall foliage. So this one, as I was talking about in the intro, is the luxury yacht cruising. And so it takes you on a 7-night journey on the Harmony V and takes you through the Greek Isles. What's nice about that is, within the Greek Isles, it's easier to do a cruise because you're not commuting by a ferry or a little island hopper. You're able to just stop in each port and experience the day. How many of you have Greece on your list? A couple of you, yeah. Our president of travel is from Greece, and every time she would get up and speak, you just sit back and you hear her talk about the culture within Greece, and you end up just start going, oh, how beautiful. She's actually back there now because of family, and I'm like, how fun, she gets to go back there and really just sit back and enjoy it. So this one is the Italian lakes, and adding, of course, so anytime you're on the right side of Italy, you do tend to get a little bit of Greece, which is nice because that helps allow you to see the two different countries. And you're going to see again that you would want to add in a couple of pre or post-night hotels so you can see where I want to go, which is Venice. But Dubrovnik, Efesis, Santorino, which is also another one hard to get to. So I was talking about at the end of that slide about the themed cruises. This is an example, Rocky and the Rollers. So we would bring on them, and they would do, it's Charlie and the Drifter. So you guys, if you were on this trip, basically you'd be able to go to these special nights that only people who had access to that would experience it. And these are doing very well, so they end up adding more. And you'll see this just even outside of AAA. You'll see there's NASCAR-themed cruises, different country stars. So that becomes what people, might as well go experience who you want to see to sing and have a vacation. Makes it fun, right? So that's good. Who has all been to Alaska? Yeah. And what's funny is, out of all of you who have been there, you end up wanting to still go again and again. Every year we do a presentation for Alaska, and it never fails. Most of the audience is, oh yeah, that's me, yep. But there's so much of Alaska to see, you go again and again. I, for one, have only done the land tour, so I do want to get out and do the actual cruise part of it, which is usually the opposite, right? You usually do the cruise first and then go back and do a land tour. So there is the major cruise lines out there: Holland America, Princess, and then Royal Caribbean has started to dabble in the extension of the cruise tour. But there are a few cruise lines that just do strictly the cruise part of it. How many have just done the cruise part of it, not the land? And I'm assuming then on your list is to go back out there and do both, exactly. So these are just a couple of the beautiful pictures. What you would experience on the land part of the Alaska cruise is adding in typically a 4 to 5 night trip, a land trip go up to Denali and to Fairbanks. And what's nice about that is you do, just like everything else, Alaska is ever changing. People just don't want one night in Denali. They want 2 or 3 nights in Denali because they want to be able to be there. And if they didn't get that first chance on the first day to see Mount McKinley, they want to try it on the second day. And how many of you have been able to see Mount McKinley? And then you tell the story and they're like, oh, so lucky, I can't believe that you did that, right? But other times you could just go and go and go and never see it. So it's all just a chance. But because of that, some people do want to do your extra days. But what you'll do is take a bus ride into to Denali National Park on a school bus. a rough school, exactly. But you get to experience the wildlife, which is always beautiful. My favorite thing about Alaska is the gold panning. As silly as it seems, it's a fun experience. I still have the gold. I'm sure it's worth a lot more money now. But those are things that you would do while you're up in Alaska. And then people also want to go and do the Klondike. So that is why we have people go back and back year after year. This last one is, as it sounds, mystery tours. So what's interesting about this, and Julio, our group department manager, he gets so excited every time he talks about this. And this one was from when he first started, from the President Barack Obama first started. This is his first campaign. So they did a mystery trip, and it happened to be in Iowa. That's where everybody, they didn't know where they were going or what they were doing. They just signed up with the group and said, we'll go wherever you go. But the beauty of this is the tour director. She saw that there was a campaign going on. She stopped the tour bus and she went up and said, Senator Barack Obama, I've got 50 AAA people. I think it'd be great if you came on board. Sure enough, that's when she was saying, and he got on the bus and he talked to the 50 AAA people right then and there. So even though they were in Iowa, of all places, that experience that you experienced by doing that, you would end up talking about for years on end. So that's what's appealing about the mystery, is that in itself. You never know what's going to happen. And for some people, that becomes a bucket list. So, who all has traveled recently on an airplane? It's pretty fun, right? I hadn't traveled during spring break in probably about 10 years. I myself was having high anxiety getting on that airplane. My ticket happened to be a group ticket, so I couldn't even check in, which was in itself, you couldn't go online because now it's all digital, right? Who all goes and checks in online? The night before, yep, so you go on. I know, is it Laura? Or what's the lady in the back? Yeah. Bonnie. What? Bonnie. No. Anna. You probably are an expert, right? Of checking in online? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you check in online now, right? You go and check in online, And because my ticket happened to be a group ticket, I couldn't do that. But you always want to do that because that allows yourself checked in, and you can just go to the airport, get your luggage taken care of, and then go get in the lovely security line. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, but make a packing list. And it's easier said than done, but it allows you to give yourself time to pack and repack. Because what happens is, this became a great story for me to tell. I ended up packing 3 extra pairs of shoes that I never wore. So how many times, if you think about that, that you've done that? Probably because we didn't allow enough time to figure out if that's what we needed, or just more by chance. But know your airline, the airline company's policy for your baggage, because most of them all now charge fees, and that's kind of why Delta has become more appealing to do their Delta card, because they waive their fees if they do that. Typically, they're about $25 per bag per person, and then if you have a second bag, it goes higher and higher. One great tip: how many of you guys bring carry-on? And then you know possibly that you might be able to get rid of it at no cost, right? So if the airline is full, they'll offer you up an opportunity to check your carry-on bag at no cost. So there's always that possibility, and then you ended up not having to pay that $25 fee. Following the 3-1-1 rule, so if you guys like to bring your own lotions or your own liquids, make sure that it's in the small containers and that it's in a separate container, so when you're going through your check-in, you can pull that out. They want to see that. And it will speed up your process. They were very, very vocal this past time around, please take this out, please take that out. And for people that were delaying it, they were making it very well known. So just go through the process, listen to the TSA people. That'll allow you to kind of think, oh, well, do I have anything else in there I need to get out of there? One thing that I found is members or traveling people, they are now washing their clothes when they're on their trip. Far more often we're hearing, is there a laundry facility nearby? Is there a place that I can get my clothes pressed and get all that taken care of? We even have a client who has a big trip coming up next January. They are purchased 3 different cruises so they can get themselves up to their elite status with the cruise line, because it includes free laundry service. So sometimes the different cruise lines or tour operators that you're with have different elite statuses, and once you reach them, sometimes some of those things are already included. Something different to think about. Packing dual garments, that allows you to pack less. So think multi-purpose. Maybe it's a pair of pants that can be zipped off and made into shorts, or different material like that. And layers, just like in Alaska, different climates, even if you're on a cruise, you're gonna need layers, because the wind is gonna pick up, it's gonna get colder. It's not just because you're in a 90-degree climate that it's gonna be nice and warm all day long. And one thing I did try, because I did have this on our presentation, I did roll up my garments. First, I just threw everything in because my husband was packing, and then I decided, well, yeah, I'm going to try this again. So I rolled up all my stuff, and allowed me to have those 3 extra pairs of shoes I never wore. It worked. But allow yourself time to pack and repack. That way, you know, if you're thinking about that extra item or not, you might not need to put it on, which will leave more room for your purchases that you buy when you're on your trips. Anybody read anything about the TSA pre-screen lately? No. What that is depending on if you're a frequent flyer with Delta or American, sometimes they might already have it triggered and you can get put in a special line. And what that means is you don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to take your coat off. You can just put everything through the line and walk right through. So pay attention this next trip around to see if on your boarding pass, it will say up in the upper right-hand corner that you're TSA approved. You can go to the TSA website and ask and actually end up having to pay money, but sometimes it's random, or or your status with the airline that you're traveling with will trigger that for you. So that's a great feature to have happen. Yes.
Does that show up on your pre-boarding pass?
Yes. Yep, so your pre-boarding pass will show that. And sometimes it could be just one of the two travelers, but it just make sure that you do have your frequent flyer numbers in on all your reservations. Because I found when we were finding that out when we were traveling, it is has a lot to do with the airline too itself. Do you guys have any questions at all? Yes, Jeff. Well, I didn't necessarily talk about that too much because we were more talking about what's hot. But what we do at AAA with these particular departures is we want to make sure that you guys have a wonderful experience. And so what happens with that is we do have a AAA employee on board the entire trip. And so that allows you, if you have any questions or something's just not right, or just someone to kind of throw some ideas off of, that's what that person's there for. Yes?
Do you have to have special adapters on the cruise ships for your electrical stuff? Is this 110 or 120?
Yes, that would be fine. But if you're going to do a pre-night hotel or a post-night hotel, you would need the adapters.
In America?
In America, no, but if you're in Europe.
Okay.
Yep. Good questions. Anything else? I will be here afterwards, so if you guys do have any questions, you can certainly come to me. Again, I thank you guys for coming and hope that you guys have been able to come away with some great new ideas.